My name is Mark Kalina Jr. On October 12, 2012, I was involved in a train pedestrian accident that took both of my legs and a pinky. I am lucky to be here. Having gone through a hospital stay, inpatient rehab, outpatient rehab, my family realized the amount of support an individual needs to successfully get back to their new normal. That's why we created the Mark Kalina Jr. Foundation. We had no idea this world of rehabilitation and recovery until we were in the middle of it. I knew I wasn't the first person to ever lose my legs, but I felt so alone in that journey. But having been in that place and meeting all the people I did, I realized that it's so much bigger than I ever thought. There are hundreds of thousands of people that have experienced something similar to what I went through. There are struggles with doing daily activities, things that I never thought I would have to think about again, things I took for granted, things that I thought were so easy, came so naturally that now I had to really think through how I was going to do now that I had a permanent disability. I had to rely on my family for almost everything at the beginning. I moved into my mom's living room because the apartment I was at had a staircase. Luckily, my mom was a nurse. She helped me with my dressing changes, my medications, issues I had with sleeping and pain. I had family that was able to provide me the supports I needed to get through every day, my recovery. They helped me with my doctor's appointments, going to rehab appointments. They provided support when I was learning how to drive using hand controls. Every step of the way, I had great support. My family and I, being right there for each other, realized that if we weren't there together, doing this together, I would have not been as successful in my recovery. We thought about all the other people who have experienced traumatic injuries. They're not something you plan for. And what if they had to do that without the support that I had? I met hundreds of patients who went through something similar. Anything from car accidents to gunshot wounds. I'd visit them in their rooms, and each time I'd go through the door, I felt like I was seeing myself in that hospital bed. The medical staff does a really great job of making sure that you live and getting you out of the hospital, but there's a lot that happens after that discharge. We wanted to fill in the gaps so no one would fall through the cracks. We didn't want anyone that didn't have the support network to suffer. We wanted everyone to have a successful recovery, get back to their new normal, and have a happy and successful life. Because each time I went into those rooms and I saw myself lying in that bed, I wanted to do all that I could and all that was possible to get them back to where they wanted to be. That's what this housing project can do. We want to provide them with the support they need, bring the services to them to recover, and then build a community around them that they can rely on, even after they leave our facility. We want to promote success, recovery, and rehabilitation in its entirety, from the moment they were injured to when they say they're done.
After taking into account, all of Mark's experiences after he left the hospital, really when a lot of the challenges started to regain his independence, we took everything, that he's learned through that experience and used that to develop the concept around the Kalina House. As we look to develop the program for the Kalina House, we really drew on a lot of Mark's experiences. Some of the things that happen after you leave the hospital, while you're trying to regain your independence, just thinking, if you've lost a limb, a leg, or an arm, how do you load the dishwasher? How do you get to the bedroom? How do you get yourself on the bed? How do you take a bath? How do you shower? How do you reach the plates at the top of the shelf in the cabinets? Some of these things become really challenging for you. So we've thought through many different things, and even if you have an impact to your mobility, or maybe your job required you to do physical work, that changes a lot of the things that you can do going forward. So when we looked at the program and developing how we're going to support folks after they leave the hospital to reclaim their independence, our goal was to co-locate resources, whether that be rehabilitation resources, transportation resources to help them get to and from their hospital appointments, or even social work, workforce development, helping them find new jobs. When you go home, there's a lot of questions that you have, and the answers aren't easy to find. And we want to create an environment that helps you answer those questions effectively so folks can reclaim their independence much sooner.
Each and every day, there are 10 to 15 people in this area alone that are involved in traumatic injuries. So if you can imagine nationwide the vast need that's required out there, that's what our foundation is. When Mark first came home from the hospital, as his uncle, I was worried about everything. About the medical care that he needed, how he's going to get there, what's he going to be like 6 months from now, a year from now? What's he going to do? What's he going to be able to do? I had no idea. And that was overwhelming to try to comprehend what he was going through. Imagine, to be honest with you, what it would be like to go without that kind of support. And what I've come to realize is through the foundation is that there are so many that don't have that. And what we're trying to do is put together things that will provide that missing link of somebody being able to adjust to their new normal life.
You know, you can't help but be inspired by a young fella that his life changes, you know, in the blink of an eye. But he wants to help others. Mark is related to my neighbor who I've known for a long time. And I've been in the real estate business a long time. And so Kurt came to see me and he said, look, here's what happened. And so I said, tell me more. And I met Mark. And here's a kid that had a nurturing family. And he could have spent his time putting his life back together. What he did is he decided he wanted to spend his time helping others. How do you not sign on for that? So I spent some time with them, tried to understand what they were in need of, and then I did what I do. I tore the project apart, put it back together again. I remember telling Kurt, I said, I got good news and bad news. He said, what's the good news? He says, I think we can get this built. He says, what's the bad news? It's going to be a very bumpy ride. We stuck with it. I did a lot of touring of property with Matt, the Kalinas, and we looked at a lot of real estate. And actually, the project that we ended up settling on, that's in our plan, was Matt and I went to see a property. The architect said, "How about that one over there?" And we ended up getting the one across the street. And so sometimes you're just drawn to an area that makes sense. That was true in this case. We had plans drawn up and we started putting together budgets and we started bouncing ideas off one another. And, eventually we came up with what I believe is a very good program, very workable program. The facility works, it's in a good location. The city's been cooperative and contributing land from the land bank. We've gotten financing commitment from an organization that wants to be involved in impactful real estate, and they clearly view this as impactful real estate. These guys stumbled on a need, a very real need, and I had the easy part. Real estate's easy. Building buildings is easy. Making it work. Making it do what Mark wanted, which was to feel like home. That's the hard part. So we're getting there.
There are people every day that are getting injured just like I was. The only difference is they may not have the support I did. They need our help. And the Kalina House can and will help them.